Hello poetry students. This video assumes that you have written your 3 to 4 page poetry paper and you're ready to send it to me as an attachment, Word or PDF, through D2L, or you can use the regular email if you wish, as long as it gets to me. And the first video I had you print out. This one, of course, we're not able to do that, so just send it to me so that I can read it through online. And I'll send you all a response, an individual response on the paper. So you've written the paper. Hopefully you have it in front of you. You're about to send it. What I'd like you to do in the comment section of this video is basically type out a paragraph summary of what your findings were on the particular poem. So tell us what poem, maybe what page it's on in the textbook, why you chose it is always really interesting, and then what your basic findings were. No more than a paragraph, 4 or 5 sentences will suffice. And then I want you all to comment on each other's comments, answer each other's comments. So after all 4 of you, I hope, put a paragraph in there, I'd like to see some interaction, maybe ask questions, comment on each other's. I will also provide comments or responses to your paragraphs as well in the comment section. So basically that's all that I have to tell you about today. Next week we're going to get to drama, and I normally spend a whole class on introducing drama, but I will just go over it very, very quickly here. So drama is the second oldest literary form, normally almost always performed on some kind of a stage. And as per the ancient Greeks, Aristotle in particular, in his Poetics, is purely the imitation of action. Story through dialogue and action is the definition of drama. In the early days, dramas were also always tragedies or comedies, or what we call satire plays, which were sort of revels that were enacted. And then later on, tragicomedy, which is a blend of comedy and tragedy, sort of came into being. There's no exposition, of course. Everything comes to the audience through action or dialogue, through speech. Tragedies were the most popular. Every tragedy had a tragic spiral, which normally ended in the death of the main character or the main characters, sometimes even everyone on stage. And then comedies usually had a comic spiral ending in some kind of resolution, like a marriage or a resolution of conflict. In the early days, early drama had no director, had no producer, so the group of players themselves would direct themselves. There would usually be a lead actor on stage. So director's privilege, cutting scenes, making changes to the script, is something that came in the 18th and 19th century. Playwrights tried to build in things like irony, symbolism, farce, comedy into their speeches. So often speeches weren't just the sayings of a particular character on stage. They were to try and frame themes or ideas that are being put forth by the drama itself. Whenever one actor speaks out to the audience, it's usually called a monologue. Some playwrights made big use of these monologues, or is what Shakespeare called them, or what they're known as in Shakespearean language is soliloquy. So sometimes the actors will speak to each other, but other times they will speak out to the audience, which allows the playwright to introduce themes and ideas as well. All the same language that we used for fiction is applicable to drama. So we have plot, rising action, falling action, climax, characters being flat, round, developed, static, protagonists, antagonists, speech, poetic dialogue spoken alone or to each other, can be themic, can be philosophical, can drive the action, can stall the action. The things that are different about drama to fiction obviously are the physical elements. So we have things like staging, and drama has a number of different types of stage. There's the auditorium stage where you're looking down on the stage. There's the theater, a raised theater, where you're sort of like your high school theater where you're down on the floor looking up at the stage. There's theater in the round where people are all around the stage and the actors have to act to all sides of the building. And then there are the actors' movements themselves, which in early drama is not indicated in the script, and this is called blocking. So if you read like an early drama, like a Greek drama, or even a Shakespearean drama, you won't see directions in the play itself. So from the context of the dialogue, the players and later the producers would have to figure out what the actors should be physically doing while rendering that speech. When we get to the 18th, 19th century and to our second play that we're going to do, you will see in the actual play script a lot more directions as per the physicality of production. And then lastly, of course, there are costumes, what the actors are wearing. And this can be anything really. I've seen plays done in period costume where everybody's dolled up and looks as historically accurate as possible, or modern costumes where everybody's wearing a black shirt and the whole uniformity is played down. They can be elaborate or plain. You can have elaborate stage trappings, backdrops, scenic productions, or very little on a stage, sort of a minimalist approach. So there are lots of different approaches to how costumes or how scenic the stage should be. So there are a lot of differences, and you'll notice perhaps when I show you when I send the film links for you to watch as per these two plays, you'll see a difference of approach in different versions of the play. So there's a lot of malleability about how to put a play on, how it should look, how it should come across. It's a bit like fiction in that when you read the fiction, the short story for class, in your brain you're sort of putting on a play and you have an idea what it looks like. You're just sort of slowing that process down and making it actual. So there are the reason why I do fiction first and drama third is because they're very similar. They have a lot of the same terms and parameters. So there's a quick introduction to drama itself. Of course, we'll talk more in depth next week when we get to that genre. Please try to read at least half the play before watching the first video next week, and then the second half by the second video. I'll try to break it up into halves. Again, I'm sorry we have to rush through this play. We would normally take one more class on it, but I had to make some concessions to accommodate for the week that we lost. Okay, I hope you had a good week, enjoyed analyzing your paper, and I look forward to reading it, and I will send out responses as soon as I do. And I'll talk to you next week about Oedipus. Have a good weekend.